Alright chat, welcome back. We're doing another live stream to make more progress on DodgeKing Deluxe, and I am going to take a slightly different approach this time. So what I've been noticing is that, we've been noting down all of our major objectives and such, but one thing that I recognize, and this is something that I mentioned in the last chat, is that, or in the last live, the more I commentate on my progress, the more likely I am going to get slightly distracted on actually explaining, which is really good. Because that basically gives me this gives me the ability to teach more developers how to do, certain tricks and things that you probably want to put in your own game. The issue is I'm recognizing that this does, in a way, kind of slow my personal process here. So I'm debating if maybe for this stream I should specifically just kind of like do my own thing, just try to see how much progress I typically do here, and then maybe do a recap, right? And then in that recap I can kind of explain, or I don't know, we'll see, because, like, what's the word? I feel like there are probably more things I can do progression-wise if I just kind of focused on actually, like, getting that done. And then maybe I can speak my mind up and then just kind of tag upon a couple of things, maybe do some highlights here and there. But don't let that stop me from doing anything here, because if you guys have any questions and such, for sure, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. And actually, the secret for anyone tuning in right now is this entire live stream, just streaming the process of the game, is a project on its own, right? Because it's one thing making a game, but it's another live streaming, answering questions, explaining the thought process, and there is a reason why I'm doing that. But stay tuned for that, and if you guys want to see more or want to see the end results of this, subscribe. So we'll see what happens. Regardless, today I realized that we didn't do any ailments. So it looks a little too far away to see here on the screen, but we didn't touch the ailment states, so we can definitely work on that. So I've organized the, let me see if it even works here. So I was able to organize the stream layout so that we have the ability to see gameplay, and the chat is supposed to show up here, but I don't know. Where's the chat? Should be here. Yeah, if I said, hey chat, is this real? Like, that should be the chat, right? And then, yeah, okay, so chat shows up. Unless I'm blocking it somehow. Webcam, that's the game. What about editor? Yeah, maybe I have the wrong settings here. But there should be an area where you can see chat. Oh, we'll get there. Yeah, this is the gameplay that we currently have so far. Let's see if it at least works here. Last time we were working on the HP manager system, which is how do we get damage transferred into specific objects, right? And then we were able to confirm that by seeing the log, which probably isn't being displayed here. That's okay. So we got code, gameplay, got the editor here. I realized I didn't make one for the log, which is a little unfortunate. It's fine. We'll do with what we have. All right. So yeah, we have our log right here, and my face is blocking it. Hilarious. Let me move this. Yeah, just the little items that populate all the way on the side. That's the log. So yeah, when we see these little objects here that just says, hey, it works, right? So that's where we were. Yeah, let's take a look at the HP manager system. See what we were missing here. All right, so we have call players. Yeah, okay, so what I remembered is we were only directly calling player number 1. And this is something that we have to really watch out for. What we could do is back in our game code. What I want to check here briefly is we can grab the inspector of our bullet. So what I'm going to do is search for the bullet that we made, which should be this one. And this should have the script projectile logic, right? And when we open that, go back to coding. What we were explaining here was this area right here, which is how we actually transfer damage. And we're basically saying do 1 damage. This is a non-healing attack. And we're going to give it to the first object on the list, which is assumably going to be player 1. What I'm thinking is we should probably make a item or like a variable that says, okay, instead of 0, it's going to read, are you player 1? Are you an object? And then based off of what it reads, it gives it an ID. The ID is then going to communicate with the HP manager, and then it's going to communicate and say, okay, is ID A player 1? Yeah, okay, then let's attack that one. And, you know, ID A could be anywhere on the list, so then it would have to search for the list, and then it would find out, and then we would find out if, when it matches, you know, hits this target instead. So to do that, we're going to really have to watch the compare tags, where it says player move point tag. What we could also do is do another indicator and just name that player hitbox, right? And what this means is that back in the hierarchy, when we go back to Unity for a second, we want to find our player, which should be all of this over here. You see how we have the move player, move point tag here? That's important. That needs to stay, right? But maybe we can have another hitbox, right? I need to think this through for a second, because my thought process is, okay, we can just make another hitbox that all hitbox objects have. So your guardians, your pets, your secondary players. And then from that, read that, have a little script that says, oh, we're player 1, we're player 2, we're an NPC, and then use that as a list. The problem with that is we're not going to transfer exactly what we're looking for, because here we're defaulted to player move point tag, which is important because that's what keeps I'm pretty sure this was read by other things as well, so if anything, let's verify, right? How many times are we using player move point tag? Probably just for contact. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, hold on. Let me take another step back here. Well, what we could do, actually, is if we look back at the hierarchy, in our player, where we have the player move point tag, that's also where we have the script, basic player script v1, right? So if we open that one, what we could do is have another header here, call it internal properties, and this is what's going to actually indicate if we're player 1, player 2, if we're an NPC, if we're an assist, if we're something else, if we're a block. So what I'm going to do is player is public int player ID type. And what that means is I'm going to go back to the projectile logic here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do hitbox dot get component, and the hitbox should have a component called basic player script v1, we're gonna do is, hey, is this null or not? So we're gonna do if hitbox get component player basic player script v1 exists, then we're gonna say, okay, I'm now gonna ask for player ID equals this. And what we can do is simply do an internal int player ID. Put the transfer damage in this bracket. And then I'm also going to put player ID as a parameter. And then I'll do integer player ID so we can just pass that parameter. And then what we're attacking is going to be the actual player ID. Okay. So in theory, what this basically means, and by the way, we're going to default this to 0. So all I'm saying is, hey, we're going to attack the player. If we're actually attacking the player, that means that the player object is going to have the basic player script, right? And if that is true, if that's true, meaning like, hey, does it exist? Yeah, okay, then we're going to make this ID called player ID, and that's going to be that's going to be in the script, and that's going to be our player ID type, which is this line of code basically says we're going to go ahead and transfer our player ID type into player ID. We're going to pass that as a parameter so that when we call damage transfer, we're going to go ahead and transfer this ID into who gets hit. Because when we go to damage output receiver in this script, that third parameter represents to who, which is, which player are we attacking. And ideally, that should match up with the list of players that we're actually going to populate, which means theoretically we're going to need another manager that focuses on enlisting, okay, player 1 should be the first object, player 2 should be second object, etc. It keeps going, but then extra objects have extra IDs. So we probably need another manager to communicate that, to make sure that, hey, this is precisely what we're looking for. So I'm going to compile. And it looks like there were no issues because we don't have no errors. So that's good news right now. Also, I'm pretty sure I saw, I had a chat button here, but I can't see chat. Is chat active? Oh, we got Not Sell in the group with the bread. Let's go. What's up, Not Sell? Hope you're having an absolutely wonderful afternoon here. He's always asking amazing questions, and I just love answering them. So, feel free to ask anything that seems confusing, or if you just wanted to see what's going on. But again, I don't know why chat isn't showing up. Maybe if I slide this over here. I'm working with a new layout today, so I'm just trying to figure out if the layout is working the way that's supposed to. But see here, there's a chat button, and then I would enable it. See, that's where the code goes. That's where the camera goes, and then chat is. Saying chat probably just isn't even on the screen right now, but I don't know if that makes sense. Or maybe I'm covering up with something else here. Yeah, I want to resolve that for a second, because that way there would be a more consistent way to look at chat instead of just manually opening screens back and forth really quickly, which could distract the progress here. So if for example, if I turn this off, right, I'm gone. Right, but then if I turn this on, it says chat should be here. So or you know what? Let me just